December 2019. News comes from Wuhan, China, about an alarming novel strain of coronavirus. What we now know as COVID-19 starts spreading, and nations worldwide enforce quarantines and lockdowns. While the world enters crisis mode, a group of filmmakers across the globe grabs their cameras to capture the lives and stories around them. Sharing these stories, they realize, even before COVID-19, we had equally virulent diseases dividing us. Perhaps this virus might be a test for humanity, a wake-up call for change. Filmmakers and storytellers from 22 countries unite in a shared goal to tell the story of a time for healing. This is SANATIONE.
La Crosse is a really special place. It's the cultural offerings, it's the incredible landscape, and I think the way that people look after each other. What defines this place? What defines this community? What does it mean to us?
When we decided to call the company La Crosse Distilling Company, we really felt like we were making a commitment to this town. And it was really built upon the idea that there's a bunch of amazing organic farming happening right here in the Driftless region, and particularly right outside of La Crosse, Wisconsin here. And that's what we set out to do when we started the distillery and opened our doors in late 2018.
Gross started in 2012. I was sitting in a friend's living room, and she and I both had young children, and our oldest children had started preschool or kindergarten, I think, at that time. And we were kind of lamenting the thought that there weren't as many good food choices at school. We had hoped that there would be more options for them at school. And so we kind of thought, all right, so what can we do to kind of help this situation? We kind of surrounded ourselves with other people who are interested, passionate about this kind of thing. We talked to healthcare providers, we talked to like university public health professors, and just came up with this idea of gardens, partly because we knew that if we put these new foods on a tray in the lunchroom, if students hadn't had any experiences with that food, most likely it was going to be dumped into the garbage. So here in La Crosse, Wisconsin, it really is an area that's rich in farming, and really there's so much respect for nature, and so it really ended up being a perfect spot to be able to start something like Grow. And so we felt it really necessary to provide opportunities for students to plant the seeds, tend to the plants, harvest right there in the garden and taste in the garden in order to have the buy-in, that they would have those experiences, positive experiences, to be able to then be willing to try those new foods. So that's kind of why we came up with School Gardens.
No one had known about the very strong Black history that is in La Crosse.
We've been here since the beginning of La Crosse. We have endured.
We have been here in La Crosse, or Prairie La Crosse, as it was called when it was established in 1841.
We are from the beat of the drum.
Created by the dirt of the South.
We are descendants of slaves,
Sharecroppers.
Farmers.
and maids.
So, let us tell you a little bit about Black history in La Crosse.
Over 600 of us lived here in the last half of the 19th century.
We were barbers,
Coopers, the barrel makers,
porters, lumberjacks, brewers, entrepreneurs, and landowners.
And there were also female landowners and entrepreneurs.
We have been here.
We have endured.
There were several hundred people that lived in this area in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Was really something that the public wanted to know about, especially the first African American to run for president, George Edwin Taylor, lived in La Crosse. He ran for president in 1904. The first African American to medal at the Olympics, George Poe, in 1904. They both lived right here in La Crosse. The Enduring Families Project got started when our historian, Rebecca Mormon Krieger, decided to do dramatizations about Wisconsin history when we were both teachers in the Milwaukee Public Schools. And then when we both ended up moving to La Crosse, she decided to expand her research into finding out about African American families in the La Crosse area. Because we're both theater teachers, we decided to make this history come to life through reenactments. We were able to go to various locations in downtown La Crosse where early African Americans had either worked or lived, and through reenactors tell their stories. And that's how the project started. Our fiscal sponsor is the La Crosse County Historical Society.
Okay, so can I have some volunteers to be interviewed? You're all so great.
I like experiencing being out in nature with plants. Play with my mom around the garden and try to help her around there because I felt a connection with the garden and I didn't know what it was. And Grow helped me find out what it was that gave me some connection about the garden. I really like Grow because I learn about how plants live and what they do to survive. I love learning about new foods and new plants, and I just love Grow because I like learning about nature. I like ground tomatoes because it's cool because it's like opening a gift when you open them. When I'm older, I'm totally gonna have a garden because I love like ground tomatoes, peppers, and I hope that I'll be able to make some homemade tomato sauce. When I grow up, I definitely want a garden, and I might want to be a garden teacher because I love learning about the garden and learning about plants, and I might want a hoop house. I'm probably going to have a garden when I'm older because I like picking stuff from nature and then having it, then making stuff from home out of the things we've picked in the garden.
What I really enjoy about Grow is that it gets the kids out in the garden and gets them to realize that healthy food is not out of reach. It's something that they can grow on their own. They just love being outside, so helping them enjoy nature and getting them closer to healthy food is what it's all about for me.
I love that gardening is accessible to all levels of learners, so when we come out here it kind of puts everybody on the same playing field. All kids can get excited about and all kids can get involved in. So when we're out here, everyone enjoys the vegetables and everyone enjoys the exploratory activities that they do, and then we get real things to take home and to try and extend that into their real lives.
I didn't know that there were people in this town that were interested in having conversations about diversity, inclusion, white privilege, and I would not have found them had it not been for the Enduring Families Project. This project brought people out of the woodwork and gave them a platform to say, hey, I care about this segment of La Crosse history. I want to learn more. I want to get involved, to want to form bridges where there weren't bridges before.
Oh, it just was a bit of an epiphany, really, coming up with this idea. The name of my project is Painting Us Forward. The project came about at the very start of COVID. I started to think about, what does this community mean to me and how would I like to respond to that and reach out to people. I started painting people close to me.
We had gotten a relief grant through the La Crosse Community Foundation. Donors weren't able to give as much during the pandemic, but we did what we could.
In 2020, we gained access to the greenhouse on Western Technical College's campus.
And we have these ideas of how we can continue to move forward.
So we decided to do some video lessons that teachers would be able to share with their students when they were doing online learning. The lessons in fall of 2020 were about diversity in the garden and cultural connections. And so one of the things that we focused on was the Hmong culture. And one of our guests on the video showed a cooking demonstration of a Hmong dish that had bitter melons, and the Hmong children were so excited to see that those were being used and shown.
With this project, the difficulties that I faced really had to do with access to people, one-on-one. Painting from photographs, there's something for me that is lost. I definitely wanted to find people who were in business for themselves, especially really young businesses. I didn't want there to be any sense of exploitation.
She had an interesting story that she wanted to share what restaurant or business in general were struggling with in that historical time of being shut down and not being able to do what we do usually. So she just wanted to kind of do a snapshot of what was it like to be having to close the restaurant, and kind of what other strategy that we were going to put in place, and just make sure that we were not forgotten, I guess, in that time of everybody being isolated.
COVID was kind of kicking up, and we were kind of at a pivotal point in what we were doing with our facility. We saw a time that our community was in need. Grocery store shelves were empty of sanitizer and people were in need. There was a lot of uncertainty about what the future held.
There was kind of a big difficulty with this project. For an artist to switch gears, most of my work as an artist involves the natural world and landscape and abstract painting, which I love and I still do. I think there's so much self-doubt when you try something new. This really felt new for me. Certainly I had painted people before, I painted portraits before, but if I was going to be serious about this, it's this big leap you know? And it was a vulnerability for me as an artist.
We established a pilot garden. We were able to provide programming that went along with their science curriculum and helping to establish and build and maintain gardens at several schools.
We were, shocked at this announcement globally that this pandemic was happening, and I think everybody was just so uncertain as to what this virus was doing, what it was causing throughout the world. So there was a lot of panic involved, and we were also panicking as to what was going to happen to our new startup business. We had only been open a year and a half at this point. Late March, we received an email from the TTB, which is the federal government agency that oversees liquor production, saying, we're giving you the green light to produce the WHO, the WHO formula for hand sanitizer.
Yeah, the hand sanitizer project, we really felt like it was our duty to our community to do it. It was something, it was barely even a conversation for us. It was a lot of work and a lot of hardship, but it was really fulfilling for us. We feel like we represent, even with us being called La Crosse Distilling Company, we represent a fantastic community. It's a beautiful community, it's full of great people.
We were getting so many messages at the distillery from people reaching out after they heard that we were starting to produce sanitizer here. We started to devise a plan with the city, with the county, to set up some giveaway points throughout town. Through those several events, upwards of 8,000 bottles, small personal sized bottles of sanitizer into the community's hands free of charge.
By December of 2019, we had already completed 5 stories. Our project was almost halfway done, and then the pandemic hit in March of 2020. So that kind of put a damper on continuing our filming. So in order to work around the challenges that the pandemic had us dealing with, we were masked during the rehearsals. We kept social distancing as much as possible in the historic homes where we filmed. We felt it important to keep pressing on.
I was asking people I hadn't met before for their permission to paint their portrait, which, felt vulnerable for me. Like, they could say no, and then I might feel bad, but it was okay to say no. And I also didn't want to show anything that I didn't first share with the person who I painted. So what's coming out of this whole pandemic is this feeling we all have in different ways of what it means to be vulnerable.
I love the portrait. She did such a good job, but what I love the most is that she painted us outside. It is that time that we were just sitting outside and just hanging out and just getting to know each other on a more personal basis. That was the best part.
Such a deep sadness of all of the people I was missing.
Not only were we panicking about what was happening in the world with this virus, we were also panicking about what was going to happen with our business. And when this, I guess it's, we could call it an opportunity, came up to start producing sanitizer, we saw this as a path to keep our people employed, keep working, and try to do something for the higher good in terms of protecting people against this virus that really at that point no one knew anything about.
We are phasing out the project gradually. Once the curriculum is in place in the La Crosse School District, that will be another signal that the information is there for the public and we don't have to do the in-person portion of it anymore. Library systems will have the videos, well, they're all on YouTube anyway, and let the videos stand on their own. Eventually we will have the legacy that we had and we can walk away knowing that the public has the information about this group of people.
Leaving this place, La Crosse, but also leaving the world a better place than we found it. And we believe we can do that by supporting these local family farmers that are doing amazing work here in the region and in our community.
Last year, in 2020, just paint what it was like. And I really appreciate that she took the time to actually record it and put it on canvas.
We're seeing it as a long-term experience for kids. They're bringing it with them throughout their lives. And that's really what we wanted students to do. We hope that this will have a lasting impression on them, and that as adults they will make choices for themselves around their eating that maybe has been influenced by those experiences as children.
I love it. I love tomatoes.